I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with author William Craig Lachowsky about his gripping memoir called Superman, A Kansas Man's Story. It offers an insightful exploration into the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of his life. As a working-class Midwesterner, expelled student, Marine Corps sergeant, and disabled veteran, his personal journey intersects with critical, political, and social issues, offering readers a bold perspective on American culture, power relations, and the impact of key political events. We are delighted to have William join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Good River Print and Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. William, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you.
You know, I'm a big fan of Superman. So when I saw your title, I had to pick it up and I had to keep on reading. What made you decide to call it Superman?
Basically, because there were a few reasons. Part of it was because I'm from Kansas. Most everyone knows that Superman is from Kansas. He's actually originally from the planet Krypton, but when he came to Earth, he landed in Kansas. So that's
Yeah.
where he was. And the other part of it is I think the concept that a lot of young men become accustomed to early in their life. When they're young, they have dreams and aspirations and things they want to become. And they basically form the idea of being a Superman or a superhero or a big, strong man that can face challenges and do anything he wants to, basically. And, and I was a young man. I dreamed of being something a lot more than I was early in life. And that's basically where the idea for the title came from.
Yeah, well, it's a great title. It's an eye catcher, and it has a lot of significance and meaning in your story as well. So it was well selected. Tell us a little bit about an incident that happened in middle school that basically changed the trajectory of your life.
I was a student at a private school in Topeka, Kansas. I won't say its name,
Mhm.
but I have four siblings, to be exact, three sisters and a brother, and all of us were brought up in the Catholic school system. I was there from kindergarten through seventh grade, and when I was in seventh grade, I had a number of problems that was hard for me to overcome, and I just had a number of issues. I was being bullied by other students, and eventually the teachers kind of joined in it, if you will, and I started getting bad grades. And when my parents decided they didn't know what else to do, they pulled me out of the Catholic school system and put me in a public school. And to be honest, I had technically had a better experience at the public school, but the sense of community was gone, the sense of challenge was gone, and I felt ostracized by my sisters and brothers who were still in the Catholic school system, and I felt that the standards were lower, and it got me down in a lot of ways. And I've always wondered if the things that I did in my life, if they might have been different had I been allowed to stay in the Catholic school system. But at some point, I mean, it did have a big impact in my life, but at some point, you just got to let it go and move on. But when it happened to me, I never forgot about it, and the reasons for doing it were never made perfectly clear to me, so I never completely accepted it. So yeah.
Yeah, Catholic school can be almost like a rite of passage. I went to Catholic school. I like to say I went to Catholic school my whole life because it
Yeah.
felt like it was a long journey. And the nuns can be incredibly mean. The Irish Christian brothers that I was educated by could be quick to hit you.
Oh yeah.
So it was a tough place. And I think all of the bullying that happens is done with the approval, an unseen wink or a dog whistle from the people who are in charge. So it can be a
Yeah.
bad situation. And they do build it up so that you are so privileged to be here at this school. Some kids get kicked out. And
Yeah.
then when you're one of the kids who gets kicked out, you do feel a lot of shame. So, you know,
Yeah.
I can see how it impacted you early on. I can see why you feel like you do about Catholic schools, because it really is a combination of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, there are
Yeah.
certainly people there who are respectable and do a great job, and other people who do not such a great job, particularly since
Yeah.
you're doing it in the name of Jesus Christ. So
Yeah,
not
very
to get
important.
off the topic, but I thought that was interesting. So you leave Catholic school, you go on to public school, you enjoy that somewhat better. Eventually, the road takes you to serving our nation in the United States Marine Corps. Tell us about that journey.
If you want to go back to where it all started, when I was 8 or 9 years old, I've always played video games when I was growing up, and the plot of the video game and a lot of the movies I've seen and a lot of the books I've read is the protagonist is like someone who's serving in the military, and then after the military, maybe they work for the government, maybe they're a spy or something, and that's the plot of a lot of video games, books, and movies that I was privy to when I was growing up. And when I was 8 or 9 years old, I was playing the video game Doom. It was
Mhm.
one of the first person shooters that came out in like '94. And one day I read the plot of the video game Doom, and the plot begins with the words, "You're a Marine, one of Earth's toughest." And that was the beginning of the plot. And I think that that was where I first got the idea that I wanted to one day be a Marine because I thought there were these big manly things, and I thought that that was something what I wanted to be. And then when I was a teenager, I played the game Half Life. It was extremely popular, a computer game, and there are also Marines in that game that makes it even more interesting. And it was just something that I always wanted to do. And again, it played into the I concept I had of a young man of being a Superman of some kind. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it was my I spent 3 years talking to my local recruiter when I was in high school, and we did all these events together. I met a lot of young guys my age, and we did things all over town. We went on runs, we went to other events and things, and it was a really positive experience, and it just played into the aspirations that I'd had from a young age. So after I finished high school, I decided to put my money where my mouth is and go do what I wanted to do.
And you did it well. I mean, you were promoted to sergeant, which isn't easy. You made
Yeah.
it through boot camp, which I can never do. I mean, you say, these Marines are supposed to be tough. That you are tough just to go, and do that. I mean, on many levels, you have to be physically strong to do that. And we thank you for your service. But you became somewhat disillusioned. I believe it influenced your perspectives on American imperialism and power relations. Tell us a little bit about how your feelings and beliefs changed once you were promoted to sergeant.
Um, when I was in, I'm not, the first thing I'll say about it is that I wasn't an 0300 infantry guy, one of those guys who just runs around in Iraq or Afghanistan carrying a rifle. It wasn't me. I made it up front. I was in the air wing. I worked on the communication navigation systems in the F-18. And I'll be honest in saying I've never been to Iraq or Afghanistan. And pretty much because I was one of the lucky ones. I was
Mm,
given a choice of where I wanted to deploy. So I chose to go to Japan. And
mm,
but I often believe that if I was one of the less lucky ones who was sent to Iraq or Afghanistan, then my story would be very different. But when you're in the Marine Corps, you don't have to go to the war zone to get a good idea of what's going on there. I met a lot of Marines who were in Iraq and Afghanistan. Many of them were in my unit, and you interact with them, and they have PTSD, and they have real short tempers, and the very stern and strict, and micromanaging, and so when you interact with them, you get a taste of exactly what's going on over there, and that was basically what my experience was working with Marines who had been over there, and so that molded my experience in the military. I've always had my own opinions of the wars that we fight. Maybe if your country is involved in a war and you're not winning the war, then I guess that's when everyone starts asking questions. But when I was in, it never got in the way of my work or anything that I was doing. So I just kind of put it on the back shelf. But yeah, it was still a life defining experience, and I got through it.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we're glad you did. You came out of the service a disabled veteran.
Yeah.
Tell us how that affected your life, the challenges you faced, what it was like finding employment and settling into, a regular civilian life.
It comes with a lot of challenges. I had a lot of PTSD, and the VA says I'm 100% PTSD disabled. It basically happens when you come back and you struggle a little bit adjusting to civilian life. For everyone who serves in the military, maybe when they were in high school, they were surrounded by a bunch of people who went straight to college and weren't subjected to the things that you experience in the military. So when you get out and you realize that everyone else, maybe in your hometown, has had such a different experience, you feel kind of alone and kind of isolated. And when you look for other people who are in the military, it's few and far between. It's kind of hard to find them. So when you're working, when you're at college, or when you're working, sometimes you may freak out if you feel like you're in under too much stress. And if you get out, and then many years later, you get to the point where you've lost several jobs or been fired from several jobs, and it always happens because of um, of what happens when you're under too much stress when you're at work, or things that happen at work. Maybe you get terminated from several jobs, and when you tell that to the VA, that's when they basically make the determination that your PTSD is severe enough that it's stopping you from maintaining employment. So now it's time to give you a rating and give you a little something every month to compensate for that, and that's basically what it is. And pretty much everyone who serves in the military has at least a little bit of PTSD. The only question that there ever is how bad is it? Is it 50%? Is it 100%? And this is something that everyone who serves in the military goes through. And all the luck don't who never serve in the military, they kind of dodge the bullet. But the rest of us, it's something that we got to deal with. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's completely understandable that your life would be changed dealing with the things that you had to deal with during your service to the country. Your story touches on the deindustrialization of the middle America, which is a fascinating part of the book. It also offers a critique of the American government and media. Tell us a little bit about your critique of the American government and media before we leave you here today.
Um, it's kind of hard to decide where to begin. The media, they get to where they basically lie about everything, and it's because of all the different agendas that they have. And so you never know who to trust when you're watching TV or reading the newspaper, or seeing a movie, or seeing something on TV, or reading a magazine, or basically anything, because there's so many agendas, there's so many different interests that everyone's trying to serve. And in the government, you get to where there's a bunch of people who are just continuously campaigning, who will say anything they have to say to get elected, who always make promises that they have no intention of keeping. And so you get to where you can't really trust anyone in the government either. And I've taken a class on I've taken a class on Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, and Hitler and the rest of the Nazis. And what I basically learned from that course, pulled from that, is that you never completely trust the government or the media, because you've got too many people who have too many different things they want to do. They have too many secrets, and so you basically trust any of them. And so I've heard a lot of people say that in the media, it used to be a lot more fact based. It used to be a lot less biased. It used to be a little bit more trustworthy. And also heard a lot of people say that the government also used to be a little bit more trustworthy. But we've gotten to a point today where you have to basically think for yourself on everything with anyone, and it's kind of a sad situation. So eventually the only person you can really trust is yourself, and learn what you can and do what you can about it. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
Exactly. Everybody's got an agenda, even with the weather. You wonder if they were just reporting on it more because they're trying to push a climate change agenda, and or the other side isn't reporting on it enough because they're trying to dismiss the climate change agenda. So we are left stuck in the middle. Deciphering the truth in these muddy waters these days is very, very difficult. This is an excellent book. It's called Superman, a Kansas man's story. It is written by William Craig Lachowsky. It is a great memoir. It tells the story of growing up. It tells the story of his early middle life, from working in the United States Marines to coming out of the Marines disabled and trying to put his life together. It's an amazing story. And as I said to William before we began this interview, these are just the first few chapters. More books, more chapters are to be written, and we hope they are great and happy ones. William, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you. It was my honor.
My honor, sir. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.